once you get into America, they don't tell you what city you have to go to. You can choose anywhere you want in America that you want to live and begin your life. And my father had taken flight training in Killeen, Texas, which is an Army-based city in Texas. And so he knew those people. He thought, maybe I'm a flight instructor. Maybe I can get a job becoming a flight instructor and join the American Army. He just kind of had this thought. And so he moved us to this small Texas town, military town, where everyone's so incredibly patriotic. They're watching on TV how the Iranians are going through the revolution, how they're burning the American flag, calling America the great Satan, how they'd held 54 Americans hostage from the American embassy. Yeah. And so here we move in as an Iranian family into that world. And I tell people, we were wages waiting to happen. You know what I mean? We walk in, and we are the outsiders. And not only that, but we're the enemy. Yeah. I would attribute it to like being Taliban these days, since September 11th in the States, and so we walk in, and as soon as we walk into that culture, I've got the wrong haircut, the wrong clothes, the wrong language, the wrong everything, and I just walk in, and immediately I'm the loner, because immediately I don't blend in. And so I sat and ate lunch alone every single day. I was the kid who heard all the nicknames, all the 7-Eleven jokes and the turban jokes and all the different things, because I think I was at the receiving end of people's anger towards what they were seeing happen on their TV tubes.
Plus, you've been suddenly thrust into a totally different culture. I'm sure that those first few months, maybe the first few years, you might have wondered, maybe it would have been better if we'd stayed. Maybe,
oh, yeah.
I mean, everything from food to fashion to language, you've been basically dislocated.
Yeah, absolutely. The people who've kind of been responding to this book, a lot. So I get a lot of correspondence from people who've read it and that say one of my favorite parts in this book, a lot of people say, is that little moment of you just talking about the two cultures, and coming from a world that's completely different to the American culture. Learning everything about the American culture, from the American television culture. There's a lot of humor in there about the ice cream man and just the idea that in America, only in America does the food come to you.
Ice cream comes to you.
Yeah, and only in America are there drive-thrus. I didn't know what drive-thrus were. Only in America are there refills.
Yeah.
Nowhere else can you get a Coke and then go back and get all you want. Only and just in Canada it's the same. We just have this all-you-can-eat buffet mentality, and that so doesn't exist in the Middle East, or at least didn't back then. And so it's a rude awakening for someone like me to come in. And so there's the culture shock built in. On top of that is the fact that I'm from the wrong place, Iran, in the views of many people. And so we came in, and it was pretty difficult. And so you're right. I remember thinking, we've escaped halfway across the world to come to a place for refuge as refugees, and this doesn't feel very safe. I felt like I'd gone from one kind of terrorism to a whole other kind. I'd come into like emotional terrorism now. And loneliness, which is a different form of terrorism, that I felt as a little 9-year-old boy. And for years and years, I was that outcasted kid.
Yeah. Let's just shift for a minute here. We'll probably get back to some biographical notes in a moment. But you mentioned terrorism a few times here in the last few comments. Help us to understand Iran, modern Iran. What I'm reading is that maybe more than 50% of the population are under the age of 30.
Yeah, actually, even more than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
So you've basically got a youth culture in Iran. And then you have this bunch of theocratic leaders who are hearkening back to former centuries past in terms of their worldview and their way of governing. And there seems to be a huge gulf fixed between the emerging Iran and the established governing order. Am I correct?
No, you're absolutely right.
So is the future with the theocrats, or is the future with the young Democrats?
Well, honestly, I mean, I want to kind of get away from it, looking at it politically, and just really look at it on a human level. I believe, and this is just the optimist and really the guy who's been praying for this. And so as I'm praying for it, I'm praying that it will come into fruition. I believe that the future is in an awakening in Iran, a spiritual awakening in Iran. Here's one of the most religious hotbeds in all the world, if not the most religious hotbed.
It's the only Islamic governed nation in the world, right? I mean,
well, fully.
Republic.
Absolutely. I mean, so there is no separation of church and state.
No,
church is state.
The church is the state.
And so, here's a country who is trying to behavior modify a younger culture, or really the whole country. And so when someone's telling you how long your dress needs to be, how long your hair needs to be, or short it needs to be, what kind of music you listen to, when they're trying to clean up your act, but it's not working, there has to be a knee-jerk reaction to that. And I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing college students say, man, we waited in line for 4 hours for a loaf of bread. And for 4 hours, we've thought about this.